Good morning. I don't know what terrible things you've done in your life up until this point, but clearly you've proven yourself elite to get assigned to this class. I am Professor Solomon, and this is History 104, or what we prefer to call it is how to not get away with murder. So, our topic is
the Convention on the Prevention of Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. So my name is Kristen Ware.
My name is Patrice Toussaint.
I'm Shigeria Vanderbilt Solomon.
And I'm David Lee.
Our case. You have stepped into a courtroom. Unlike many of my colleagues, I will not teach you history. I will teach you how to change history through the study of history game changers. We begin our first case with the background.
So, the Convention on the Prevention of Genocide was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in December 9, 1948. It was enforced January 12, 1951, and it was campaigned by Raphael Lincoln, and 150 states have ratified or accepted the treaty. So they agreed to it, and this is how it starts.
The forerunner, Mr. Lincoln. So Mr. Lincoln was born in 1990 in a small village in Poland. It was called Zetkowicz village. It's Polish, I can't say it. He started off as a linguist, and he started off in Poland. As soon as the Germans started to invade Poland, he ran away from home. He tried to get his family to run with him, but they felt like they were old, and their words were, Hitler is not going to do anything to us, we're old farmers. But he kept telling them, this is different. Have you heard? This is different. This isn't just war. He's trying to kill all the Jews. But they just wouldn't come. So he ended up getting on a train. They started to bomb his hometown, and he ended up getting on a train to come back to the United States, where he was then a teacher at Duke University. There he taught and was going to school, and he changed his course of study from linguistics to doctoral law, because he had such a heart for what was not known then as genocide, but what we've come to know genocide because of him.
Genocide, the definition consists of the Greek prefix genos, meaning race or tribe, and the Latin suffix side, meaning killing. Any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. 1, killing members of the group. 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And 5, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group.
So before Lincoln, there was no word as genocide. He came up with this term. He coined it in a book, and later on in our presentation, we'll talk about a convention that he presented this information to. So before, it was known as brutality and vandalism, and he realized that it was an issue that a lot of people were not talking about until after World War II. And so one of the quotes he had is, why is killing one person more severe than killing millions? Because people had a crime and a punishment, and they had provisions for if you were to kill one person, but they did not have provisions for if you were to go and commit genocide, such that was going on at that time.
So one incident of genocide is the Armenian genocide. It's the systematic killing of the Armenians by the Turks. It began in 1950 during World War I. It was started by Sultan Abdul Hamid II. He declared that he would destroy the Armenians because of their success in the Ottoman Empire. Hundreds of thousands of Armenians died, and the Turkish government denies that a genocide happened to this day.
And the Armenians were a Christian group in that area. Yep. So that was the reason why this happened, because the Kurds were Muslim and it was a minority issue.
The second incident is the Holocaust that we all know. It was the systematic state-sponsored persecution of 11 million people, 6 million Jews, but they also killed the Roma, disabled people, Slavic people, Soviet prisoners of war, and Black people. They just wanted a perfect Aryan race, and anybody that was not considered an Aryan to Hitler was to be exterminated. And by 1945, 2 out of every 3 Jews were killed by Nazis and their allies as part of the final solution.
So the Convention on Prevention of Punishment of Crimes of Genocide defines genocide in its legal terms, and it declares it a crime under international law. It obligates the states, and when we say states, we mean countries that have signed along to agree to this. So it obligates the states to prevent and punish it under their domestic law or through international criminal court. Encourages states to call on the competent organs of the United Nations to take action to prevent and punish genocide. And it calls for submission of disputes between states concerning the convention to be referred to the International Court of Justice. So the actual convention has 19 articles, but I felt the first 4 were perfect for us to go over because the rest of it reiterates what happens in the first 4. So the first article says that the contracting parties confirm that genocide, whether committed in the time of peace or in the time of war, is a crime under international law, which they undertake to prevent and punish. The second article is the prevention of means that any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in a part a national, ethical, radical, or religious group as such. The killing of the members of just that group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. The third article says the following acts should be punished: genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, or complicity in genocide. And Article 4 says, persons committing genocide or any other acts enumerated in Article 3 shall be punished whether they are constitutionally responsible rulers, public officials, or private individuals.
Good. That's good.
Results in action. Okay, so instances of genocide and ethnic cleansing have continued to occur. Although all of this work was put in to prevent genocides and learn how to punish them, it's been difficult for them to do that. There's been an increase in the number of atrocities that have been committed, and these are some of the countries that it has taken place in.
Bosnia and Herzegovina, Rwanda, the Darfur, and now in Syria. All those places in recent years. Darfur still, and Syria still.
This is a longer list of places where genocide has still occurred since the convention, and it's a lot, and we weren't really able to see how they were punished, and yeah,
So, to just piggyback off of everything that was said, Lemkin's family ended up being gas tanked. They were gassed in Germany. So this issue not only hit home for him because he knew it was a problem before everyone else addressed it as an issue, but it hit his family. So he had to get a letter on a ripped up shred of paper that said, we're okay, we're fine, but he knew what was going on, which led the fuel and the passion to get legislation to fill genocide, to call it what it was, because it didn't even have a name. People were getting slaughtered, killed, and erased. Genocide isn't about mass killing or mass shootings. Genocide is about destroying a group of people. That's the whole point of it, destruction. It's not just killing people just because you don't want them to exist anymore. And he knew that, and he knew that the point had to be get across. So when they had this convention, and it was instilled by first the 3 countries that instilled it were Panama, Cuba, and India. But then when everyone else unanimously voted on it on December 11th, 1946, it had gotten ratified so there could be punishment. So now if you were to go anywhere in the world and do this, you can be punished for it. There are provisions. It outlines what it is and what happens when you do it. But the problem is right after it got ratified, the Cold War began. So people kind of just ignored it, and he began lobbying for it until his death. And once he died, you know, his provision and his will behind it kind of died with him, which is why you have this long list, because he knew that it was more than legislation. He knew that there was a moral compass behind it that people just weren't comprehending, which if we think about it, it's kind of hard to comprehend something that you haven't experienced. We don't experience that, but he did. It hit his family, and obviously it's hit millions around the world. So,
Millions of people. Guys, this is a good list. Good job on the list. This is reflective of what's going on today. And there are other places that are not being listed. And I'm sorry, Saudi Arabia and Yemen's there in 2011, but it's to present. There's still problems going on there today. So it's problematic. And most of the time, we only think of the Holocaust or genocide with regard to what happened in World War II, when in reality, it's still going on. Everybody, this is very important, okay?